Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Shout out to my new patrons, JB and Isaac, or Isaac. Thank you guys for choosing to support the channel. Look, I'll be honest with you all, I really have been enjoying the Tesla stock price action as of late because I am an accumulator and a long-term investor. Just a quick update, the current Tesla price to earnings ratio is $162 for the trailing 12 months. And if you plug in a median fiscal year 2022 EPS estimate of 15, there are some people like James Stevenson around 17 or 18, Wall Street might be around 11 to 13, so middle of the road, that would give you a Tesla forward-looking PE of 53. And listen, because at its core, the PE ratio tells you how much you're paying for every $1 in corporate earnings, some detractors or bears would say, wow, you're gonna pay $53 for $1 in earnings. That would mean it's gonna take you 53 years to get back your initial investment. However, what most of those people fail to understand is how fast Tesla is growing their earnings. In 2021, Tesla grew its GAAP net income by 665%. So look, this multiple compression for Tesla can only go on for so long. Where is the floor? I have no idea. All I do know for sure is I really like these levels, and full disclosure, I did buy some shares this morning at $7.88. Munro came out with a video earlier today talking about a Tesla hidden screen feature. It was a 30-minute video. I went through it, taken some notes, so I'll let you watch and I'll give you the highlights. The main takeaway here is that the screen in the Plaid is indeed set up with the ability to articulate, to rotate toward the driver and the passenger side. However, right now there is a mechanism in there that does not have a motor, so basically it's not connected to power it. The Munro team said it would be very expensive to sell the Plaid in this current form with all of this extra componentry, while it just sits there essentially being unused because, if you're not aware, right now the screen in the Plaid does not articulate. The team said there could be a future hardware and software retrofit to make this feature work, but it would be significant as you would need the motors and a guide pin to actually guide how much the screen rotates. So it's definitely exciting to see this feature built in, and this wasn't from Munro, but just my speculation. Maybe the motors or certain components weren't available at the time, so they just started shipping the cars with a set screen, and fingers crossed that in the future they do offer a software and hardware upgrade to get this feature working. In the title of the video, they named it Tesla's S3XY hidden screen adjustability. They didn't talk about other car models. However, we would presume this is also in the X, and when it comes to the 3 and Y, currently they are also stationary, but there are plenty of aftermarket adjustment kits to make your screen adjustable. And one other really important feature they mentioned people were asking about, you can actually remove the side panel of the glove box, and there is a cable pull mechanism. So if your motor fails and the power is down, you can actually still get to the glove box, say in the event of an accident or a crash. The same thing actually goes for most of the doors and the charge ports. So once again, if the power is down, you will still have access to these different features. Next up, we get some really interesting tidbits out of some emails apparently between Elon Musk and CNBC, and then CNBC and the White House. So first, have a listen, and then we'll get into the emails.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk accused President Biden of ignoring his electric vehicle company and paying more attention to legacy automakers. He also sought to reassure White House officials, saying if he were invited to speak at the White House, quote, they would have nothing to worry about. I would do the right thing. Now, CNBC had contacted Musk regarding new reporting that President Biden and the White House have no immediate plans to invite Musk to potential upcoming meetings with corporate leaders. Musk said, quote, the notion of a feud is not quite right. Biden has pointedly ignored Tesla at every turn and falsely stated to the public that GM leads the electric car industry when, in fact, Tesla produced over 300,000 electric vehicles last quarter and GM produced 26. It got to the point, hilariously, where no one in the administration was even allowed to say the word Tesla. The public outrage and media pressure about that statement forced him to admit that Tesla does, in fact, lead the EV industry. I wouldn't exactly call that praise. I have nothing against Biden otherwise, apart from general concern about more deficit spending, which would apply to any president, and actively supported Obama-Biden's election. A White House official praised Tesla on Tuesday in an email to CNBC, saying Tesla has done extraordinary things for electric vehicles, and that's a big part of why the whole industry now knows EVs are the future. Well, I don't know, Joe. I mean,
I know
a lot of this came about, frankly, because we would question. I mean, how many times did I have to ask Pete Buttigieg on this show, what is happening here? This makes no sense. And then I had that conversation with Mary Barra at DealBook. Why are you going to these meetings and without Elon Musk? The whole thing is crazy.
You immediately said what it was all about, the U word.
The unions. It's been a union story.
Yeah,
that's underneath this.
So Biden ignoring Tesla, well, that's not news, but have a look at this email discourse between a White House spokesperson and CNBC. This unnamed individual praised Tesla on one hand, saying they have done extraordinary things, as you've seen. They also took aim at Elon, saying Tesla has benefited greatly from past EV tax credits, but unfortunately their CEO has suggested an opposition to new EV tax credits. I mean, that's fair, I wouldn't really argue that. Some in the administration, however, have privately called Elon names like that for what Elon has said about Biden. So basically, behind the scenes, many in the administration have ill will toward Elon for some of the things that he has said publicly about Biden. Here you have it. Behind the scenes, the president and his team are aggravated with Elon's criticism, according to more than half a dozen people familiar with the matter. This next one actually made me laugh. I'm not sure why, but Biden's advisors have privately pushed back against inviting Elon to future events as they are concerned the outspoken executive will say something that could embarrass the president or the administration. When Elon was first asked about this, he apparently replied with an email featuring 2 roll on the floor laughing emojis, and then he said what you saw in the video. But then you get more egregious statements like this. Some in the White House, including climate advisor Ali Zaid, I believe they meant Zaidi, believe only unionized car companies like GM and Ford should be meeting with Biden. In fairness, apparently the White House didn't fully agree with that characterization, saying that Ali has met with every automaker at least once, including Tesla, many times. So clearly some people in the White House close to Biden are still upset with Elon's public comments like this one. And look, I totally understand that. I just wish we could put all of this child stuff behind us and move forward, focusing on the technology and America's future in this EV race. And to call out the insanity for that comment, this is Ali Zaidi, who said that Tesla has no business meeting with Biden because they're not unionized. I think that's completely ridiculous. A quick note on Tesla working to integrate these Steam games. Most of you roll your eyes and say, look, focus on the UI. To you, I just want to say 2 things. One, you need to remember that just because Tesla is working on this doesn't mean they're not working on the UI. This is probably a team of a handful of engineers working to integrate Steam, not necessarily taking away from UI development that should indeed take higher priority. Second, I really think this is a big deal for the next 15 years. Steam has 120 million monthly active users. Okay, so even if you take 1% of that, that's 1.2 million people that might be more apt to buy a Tesla if they can play their favorite games in their Tesla. So a life lesson here, just because something isn't exciting to you doesn't mean it's not exciting to millions of other people and that it's not going to have an impact. Pair this with that great find that Rob had last night from the Aptiv CEO talking about other automakers and basically how they're all struggling with software. They're not going to be able to implement something like this anytime soon. Another competitive advantage for Tesla. I thought this was a cool infographic breaking down the cost of a battery cell. The cathode makes up 51%, and remember, Tesla is building their own cathode facility next to Giga Austin. Another 24% comes from manufacturing and depreciation, places where Tesla is continually making strides. And moving down, you can see the anode, the separator, electrolyte, and the battery housings round out the remainder. It may not add up to 100 due to rounding. This data is from Bloomberg NEF and shows that the average cell cost in 2021 was $101 per kilowatt hour. Here you're looking at Tesla's Project Cathode, which they applied for February 2nd, 2022, set to be on 32 acres. From a Reddit user, premium connectivity yearly subscription is now live, $99 per year excluding tax, so a rough $20 savings from the monthly option of $9.99. Tesla has been granted a new patent titled Automatic Tire Inflation System with through hub air feed. So this is exactly what it sounds like, a new system built to automatically inflate the tires. And hopefully this iteration is much better than those in the past that have maybe been more of a gimmick than an actual solution. I won't get into the details of this because it is fairly technical, but if you're wondering why would they only do this for the Semi, at least to start, it's much more important for this feature on a Semi where they travel long miles, they have massive payloads, and keeping more than 4 wheels inflated at the proper tire pressure is crucial for the semi industry. So clearly the most important use case to start is absolutely the semi. Previous versions of this technology would often get contaminants in the system that would obviously cause degradation and breakdown. Tesla says that their solution significantly reduces contamination in the ATIS airstream. ATIS, Automatic Tire Inflation System, full patent linked below. John Furtado, Tesla's mechanical design engineer, was listed on the patent as the inventor. So John and your team, job well done. Holmar said, because Tesla doesn't want to support two code bases, I expect basic autopilot will eventually be replaced with a version powered by the FSD beta rewrite. Elon said, yeah. It looks like the Plaid S and X are going back to the original Plaid badge instead of just the word Plaid. This time, however, the design will be a little more flat. So it is nice to give these Plaid versions something special, and presumably this new design will be a lot easier to keep clean without all of the little nooks and crannies. Sawyer pointed out that if the Giga Austin timelines line up with Giga Berlin, that would mean pre-registration could open around March 17th for the Giga Austin event set to be April 7th. Tesla and the EPA have reached a settlement after Tesla's violations of the Clean Air Act. Now, this was once a cause for many Tesla bears to say that the company would go bankrupt. In the end, the short story, Tesla will pay a penalty of $275,000, which one could argue is immaterial given Tesla's current earnings. These violations took place between 2016 and 2019 in Fremont, specifically at the paint shop, mainly for air pollution. And Reuters is reporting that a former Tesla construction manager has filed a lawsuit against Tesla, alleging he was fired for reporting widespread safety violations and race discrimination at Tesla's factories. I don't really have any extra insight or opinion on this matter. We'll just let the legal system take it from here. And last up today, just focusing on oil production and consumption and America's liabilities with Russia at the moment. Global oil production in 2020. The USA was at 11.3 million BPD or barrels per day. Russia was in second at 10.1 million, and Saudi Arabia, the third largest global oil producer in 2020, 9.3 million barrels per day. More importantly though, looking at global oil consumption for the same time period, the USA was at 17.2 million barrels per day, compared to Russia at 3.2 million and Saudi Arabia at 3.5 million. So comparing the two, you see that the United States is a net importer of oil, meaning we are more reliant on the fluctuations in oil price. And some of you out there driving a Tesla saying, oh, I don't have to care about oil. Well, I hear what you're saying, but sadly, your country, if you're in America, is still heavily reliant on oil, and many of the first world pleasantries that you know, love, and enjoy are also still reliant on oil. So we know the US is a net importer of oil, but how reliant are we specifically on Russia? Well, as of late 2021, the US was importing 8.5 million barrels per day of crude oil from all countries. Our number one supplier was Canada at 4.5 million BPD, Mexico was in second, 700,000, and in third, we have Russia, 595,000 barrels per day as of late 2021. So basically, Russia is supplying around 7% of the US crude oil imports as of late 2021. And yes, I know that doesn't sound like a lot. And yes, I know we have to wait and see how these sanctions play out, if they escalate or if, fingers crossed, things de-escalate, but there is certainly a level of exposure here, and this is just focusing on oil. This isn't getting into any sanctions against Russia's biggest banks like the VTB. Hopefully that doesn't come, because that could cause serious economic damage. But that's gonna do it for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.